you are a choice-making individual, and that all of the conditions that you find yourself in your life, all of the circumstances of your life, all of the emotional reactions that you have to all of the people and all of the things and events and so on that take place in your life, you can't help the way that you are. You indeed are the product of all of the choices that you've made up until this moment. Circumstances do not make a man, they reveal him. And the circumstances of your life truly reveal what kinds of choices that you have made up until now. Which means that in order to rid yourself or get past the negativity and the doubt and the judgment and the kinds of emotional reactions that get in your way, you have to put responsibility first and foremost on yourself. You have to rid yourself of the inclination to blame other people for what is wrong with you, to blame your circumstances, to look backwards in your life and look at your family and come up with all kinds of real nice explanations, but they really don't help you to get past these kinds of emotional reactions. There's the invisible part of you, the part of you that processes everything that you experience in your life. This is your mind, your consciousness, your soul, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter what you label it. It's just understanding that that how you process and perceive yourself is determined not by what other people tell you, as much as you'd like to believe that, but in fact by how you have chosen to process yourself. Feel good about yourself. Treat yourself, cherish yourself as a valuable, important, significant, grand, divine creature, as someone who is unique and special in all the world. And feel that way about yourself wherever you go, and carry yourself that way. So you have to say to yourself, they didn't do it to me. I allowed it to happen, and I am no longer willing to allow myself to be immobilized by the rejection that other people or other events or other institutions or whatever it may be may have attempted to impose on me. So what you want to do at this point is if you can see that there are areas of your life in which you are self-rejecting, and identify them and make a commitment to changing them, then you can come up with some specific things that you can do about them. Looking for your value in the approval of others, making other people's opinions more important than your own opinion of yourself, which is exactly what you do every single time you find yourself upset, immobilized, depressed, out of sorts, even unhappy with the way someone else has treated you or behaved towards you. And if you are experiencing an inner kind of discontent as a result of what somebody else has said or done, what you're really saying in that moment is, what that person thinks of me is more important than what I think of myself. And that's the big shift that you want to make. You want to be able to say to yourself, they have an opinion, and their opinion is something that they're very much entitled to. Even their opinion about me is something that they're entitled to. But it doesn't say who I am, and it doesn't validate who I am. Who I am is how I choose to process my life. And if there are certain people in it who do not like what I'm doing, or who find fault with what I'm doing, or who disagree with what I'm doing, or are really even unhappy with what I'm doing, that is normal and in the way of things. You do not want to be the kind of person who is always looking at what somebody else is going to say or how they're going to react in order for you to be happy. You have the choice. When someone says something to you that you dislike, when someone behaves in a way towards you that you find offensive, you have the choice in how you're going to process that. You are a processor of life. You must not turn the controls of your life over to somebody else in the form of approval seeking and telling yourself that you have to have it. Now remind yourself, being approved of is wonderful. We all like it. It's terrific. Applause is great. But it is not something I need, and I expect the opposite quite often. And when I do expect it, then I'm not surprised by it. Who you are is how you think. What you think about is what expands in the world, and you are what you think about all day long. It is your thoughts that create your very life. And all of these these definitions that you placed on yourself are just things that keep you from being able to go out and do something about improving the quality of your life. Well, you can be any way that you want to be. That's the most important thing. That is that you can choose the kind of personality you are going to have. It is not something you're stuck with. It's not something that you just have to have, even though you may have never elected anything to the contrary. If you hang on to that, if you're attached to the belief that you can't do something because you've always been told that, or because you're just like your father, or you inherited that from your mother. You hear families saying this over and over again. Oh, he got that from his grandfather, and oh, he got this from his great-grandmother, and all of that. That's nonsense. You are what you choose to be, not what you inherit. And you've got to know in your soul that you have the capacity to be anything that you want, that you are a purposeful, divine creature, and that you can create anything you want for yourself in your life. Because being immobilized now about something that has already happened is, when you think about it, a pretty silly and wasteful thing to do. The now is here. Everything that happened in your life happened. You can never should have done it, you can never would have done it, you can never could have done it any differently than it happened. And knowing that all of the things that you've done in your life are over, then if they're over in the physical reality, then in your mind is the only place that you have anything left over, since the physical reality is just now. Now is all there is and all there ever is. It's the working unit of your life. So everything that has transpired in the past, since it's over, the only thing that's left over is how you're choosing to process it. If you process it in a way that makes you feel guilty, then that will immobilize you. That will make your life unhappy. That will keep you from being fulfilled in the present moments of your life. So what you want to do, instead of processing events and things that you've done that you've chosen to feel guilty over, is to say, instead I'm going to shift that to, how can I learn from these? It makes no sense to worry about the things that you have no control over, because if you have no control over them, it makes no sense to worry about them. Begin to view the past as something that can never be changed. That's very important. It's over. And your feeling guilty isn't going to change the past, nor will it make me a better person. So instead of being focused on things that are not going to change the outcome, what you want to do is be focused on how you can, in fact, change the outcome in the future. And guilt keeps you from changing the outcome in the future. That's what you have to understand about guilt. Guilt, like everything else in your life, transpires now, in this moment. This is when it's happening. And instead of, if you can look at and process it this way and say, instead of feeling guilty in this moment, what could I be doing otherwise? And that's the big payoff for guilt. Guilt keeps you from doing something about it. That's why I call it a useless emotion, because it keeps you hung up on the past in the present, which is all you have. And if you use up your present to be hung up on the past, then you can't use your present to do something constructive now. You should ask yourself what you're avoiding in the present. And ask that question. Instead of feeling guilty right now, what could I be doing? And then begin to accept certain things about yourself as who you are. Then if your parents or your boss or your spouse or somebody doesn't like something that you've done or whatever, instead of feeling guilty about it, you say, this is who I am. These are the choices that I make. You've got to begin to teach people in your life who use guilt on you that it is no longer something that is going to work. Now, how do you do that? You don't do it with a lot of arguments. You don't do it with a lot of talk. You teach people with behavior, not with words. What you are speaks so loud, I can't hear what you say. So what you do is you let people know as they start using guilt on you that it isn't going to do any good at all. That you're still going to dress the way you want to. You're still going to be with the people that you want. And begin to see that you start to feel good about that. It is something that makes you feel strong. And you begin, and people always like strength, not weakness. And that's true about ourselves as well. We like ourselves when we're strong, when we resist an addiction, when we resist doing something that we know is self-defeating, when we stand up to someone that is difficult for us to stand up to, even though it may be painful at the moment. We like ourselves better when we do that. And that's what you have to do. You have to teach people who use guilt on you that it no longer applies in your life. You are entitled to be happy. You are deserving of happiness. And there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. It is a way of living.